Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel True Crime and Trials, and here I like to cover trials past and present, also true crime stories. I sit and watch trials, take notes and report back for those of you that have missed anything and don't want to watch hours of footage. At the moment I am covering an old trial, seeing as COVID put a stop to all trials, and I'm covering the Casey Anthony trial. I've nearly finished. So we are on to the defence witnesses, and the next one is Krystal Holloway. So as we know, Krystal also goes by the name of River Cruz. She says she sometimes uses this name because her father used to call her River and her mother's maiden name is Cruz, which clears that up. I thought she was some sort of, I don't know, I won't say. So obviously we know she knows George, and when she joined their group that they set up to help find Kaylee, Krystal would be there every day. She says she developed a relationship with George and says it was an intimate relationship. George would go to her home, and she says this was around 12 times. There came a time where she had a heart-to-heart conversation with George about what happened to Kaylee. And Krystal says the night this conversation happened, George was sitting on her couch and she was sitting on the floor, and he had said it was an accident that snowballed out of control. Krystal at this point was in shock, and when she looked up at George's eyes were filled with tears, so Krystal felt a bit uncomfortable and didn't ask him to elaborate. She says this happened before Kaylee was found around Thanksgiving time. They were talking about Casey, and Krystal did say that she didn't think he could raise somebody that was capable of raising someone that could harm their own child, and that's when George said what he said. So they were talking about Casey. Krystal said, she couldn't believe that George would raise a daughter that would be capable of harming her own daughter, and that's when George said it was an accident that snowballed out of control. So their relationship ended on the day of the balloon release they had for Kaylee. She can't remember the date. After their relationship ended, Krystal did not go to the media about it. The police first contacted her 2 years after this, and they asked her if she knew George and if she had had an affair with him. They also showed her a copy of several text messages. Krystal gave law enforcement her phone and the letters George had written to her. So Byers has given Krystal a copy of one of the text messages from George, which was from 16th of December. It doesn't say the year, and it reads, "Just thinking about you, I need you in my life." Was he saying it because he, was in a relationship with her, or was he saying it because he valued their friendship and the support she was giving him? So, doesn't really scream affair. That could easily be explained away, like he has done previously, saying that's what he sent to a lot of the volunteers. So the relationship ended because on the day of the memorial he was supposed to go to Krystal's place and he didn't. For the next 2 days he was texting her, and she didn't think it was appropriate because she was sleeping with him and he couldn't even ring her. All he could do was text her and not show up, which upset her. It was Krystal's sister that was with her and texted George a rude message, and she never heard from him again. Krystal even informed the guard at the gate of her complex to not let George in. She says after the police had been to see her, her name had started to appear in the media, and due to this she was starting to get harassed. I can only imagine. When Krystal was first asked about the affair by the police, she denied it because she felt that George would get in trouble and didn't want it getting out in the media. So she lied because she was embarrassed, and she was also in a relationship herself at the time. But she obviously had no choice when they showed her the text, so she had to admit everything. After all this came out, Krystal did give an interview. She says that the gentleman that offered to do the interview was giving her the chance to tell her story in full because she felt that the media would edit it. You know, other media people would have edited it and to make her look like trash. Honestly, you know, I can only imagine, you know, she's having an affair with a man whose daughter's in jail for murdering her own daughter. This has blown up everywhere. She wasn't going to look like an angel, was she? So the cross-examination. Krystal received $4,000 for her story with the National Enquirer. So Krystal is now shown one of the letters George wrote to her from January 2008, which referenced attempting to get messages to her through her daughter, security, and someone George referred to as her husband. She isn't married. Krystal doesn't believe that she ever referenced her then partner as her husband to George. George also referenced their friendship as being personal to both him and Cindy. He also signed off the letter from both him and Cindy. On to the text message. This text message was sent approximately 5 days after the remains had been found. So was it just a general text message to everyone that had been out helping, and now it had all come to an end? He'd just sent out. 17th of February 2010, Krystal gave a statement to law enforcement. In the statement, she was asked if she was romantically involved with George, to which she replied no. And she gave this statement under oath. She changed her story within the same week of first giving her statement. She did this because her name had already been leaked. That same week, the National Enquirer contacted her. You can understand her not wanting to be thrown into this circus, not wanting the attention, not wanting to get George into trouble, not knowing what evidence they had. So Mr. Ashton reads out what he says George actually said to her the night they had the heart-to-heart, which was, "I truly believe that it was an accident and it just went wrong and she tried to cover it up." But Krystal says that's not what he said. Now, Krystal is getting very agitated, very defensive, because she says she's not lying. You know, so obviously the prosecution's going to go at her. You know, she's receiving constant abuse. So Mr. Ashton has her read it out from her statement. Krystal then has no choice to say that's what he said, but then says that above that part of the statement, she had actually also said about what else George had said about it being an accident and it snowballing out of control. So the redirect. We go back to the statement and Mr. Ashton's line of questioning and taking her answer out of context. Confirming in her statement before she told them that George had said to her, "I really believe that it was an accident and it just went wrong and she tried to cover it up." She had in fact told them that George had also said it was an accident that snowballed out of control. So this is just tit for tat. You know, despite what she'd said after or previous, she still said that George had said it was an accident that snowballed out of control. Now, it depends which way you want to take it. But we're going to go through the full statement that the prosecution have a read out the full thing. So I'll just finish with this redirect. The text message that George had sent her 5 days after Kaylee had been found was while they were still in a relationship. So there we go. Krystal kept quiet about their relationship for 2 years until law enforcement showed up at her home. Then their relationship was exposed and came out in the media. Krystal went to the National Enquirer due to this reason, because the media were trashing her. They said she had a criminal background, which she denies she doesn't have a criminal background. So the recross. Back to the statement, and Mr. Ashton asks her to read it out. Reads the whole thing, which Krystal is fuming about. So it reads, law enforcement. Did he tell you what he thought had happened to the child? Krystal, yeah. Law enforcement, what did he say? Krystal. He said that it was an accident that went wrong and it just snowballed. And he said, you know, how you tell a small lie, and he just tried to cover it up and just got really big and it just went out of control. Law enforcement. Did he give you more than that? Krystal. No. Law enforcement. What type of accident? Krystal. Because he was sitting on the couch in my house and I was sitting on the floor, and I understood that because I've done and said so many things in my life that I was ashamed of, but I never thought it would escalate to something so big. Law enforcement. When did that conversation occur? Krystal. I don't remember exactly. I think it was the last time he was at my house and the information would be at the gate. Law enforcement. But he didn't give you specifics. Krystal. He just said that. I really believe that it was an accident and it just went wrong and she tried to cover it up. Law enforcement. Casey. Krystal. No response. Law enforcement. Did he say to you that Casey had told him that this was an accident or this was something you just believed? Krystal. He didn't say that. I don't remember him saying like Casey said it. He just said it was an accident that went wrong. So George didn't say anything about anyone doing anything. It's just what he believed. On to the redirect. Krystal had told the police that George knew it was an accident that had snowballed out of control. Recross. To clarify in her statement, she said George didn't tell her like he knew what had happened. So again, it's he said, she said. Do I believe he was having an affair with Krystal? Yes, I do. Sorry guys, but I do. I think it's all a big huge mess. I think the affair happened because the state George was in. Do I think George knew what had happened? I don't think so. Okay, so that's that. I will be back with more in more videos. So until then, bye for now.